This is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live. I'm going to be discussing the Target boycott once again. News around the Target boycott, a little bit of give me one second. Two screens. Two screens. Um, two screens. Okay, sorry about that. This is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live, and there's only one of me with no echo. So Stacy Brown and I, once again this morning, going to be discussing the Target boycott. A little bit of news came out yesterday, certainly after Let It Be Known at Black Press USA had an interview with Nikema Armstrong, who is one of the leaders of the boycott in Minnesota, what I would consider to be a blockbuster interview by Neal Anderson and, of course, produced by Greer Marshall. That interview was quite candid with regard to the status of the boycott. And, of course, Nikema Armstrong is one of those leaders. The unfortunate part of all of that is that she has been extremely critical of Pastor Jamal Bryant and Nina Turner and Tamika Mallory. We're going to discuss that. Me and Stacy Brown are going to discuss the all the aspects of that and Black leadership strategy and where the boycott stands now. According to the leaders in Minnesota, the boycott is still on, even though there was a press conference at the National Press Club on Wednesday announcing that it was not on. We're going to discuss whether or not we know or not whether or not Target had made certain concessions. I'm not sure that that's clear, frankly, but there was some language used by Pastor Bryant on Wednesday that might be somewhat clarifying. I'll play some of that. Anyone who is mentioned in this broadcast, of course, is invited to be on this show at any time. That includes Pastor Jamal Bryant, Nina Turner, Tamika Mallory, and, of course, Nikema Williams. She will be on Roland Martin Unfiltered tonight at 6 o'clock. Today is Friday, March 13, 2026. This is Lauren Live. I am Lauren Burke. I've worked in media and in politics in New York and DC and Virginia. There's a lot going on with the boycott, a lot of news coming out. It's a little bit conflicting. We're going to explain some of that. I will run the open, and Stacy Brown will be along momentarily.
Get time.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I make sure that my legends get a payoff.
You totally do.
They get their money's worth.
Okay, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauren.
Independent media, you're kicking ass. I got two questions. Why wouldn't you just be endorsing him? And also, are you talking to Mayor Adams and the governor?
With respect to affordability, in my opening day remarks here in the House of Representatives, I was very clear that House Democrats were going to focus on lowering the high cost of living.
It's a negative commentary on a certain group of people for absolutely no reason. I actually don't think.
Okay, this is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live. So on Wednesday, March 11, to just update everybody, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Nina Turner, and Tamika Mallory were in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club to announce the end of the Target fast. All right, we have to be very deliberate about some of these terms. I foolishly referred to all of this as the Target strike. There's no strike of Target with regard to their employees. This is about a boycott situation. So, what Pastor Bryant referred to his efforts as are the Target fast, meaning that he wanted Black consumers in particular to not shop at Target. Of course, they were joined by many other member organizations in that effort, and some of them were not Black. There's organizations of concern about the policies around diversity. This, of course, all started on January 2025, when President Trump decided to sign an executive order against diversity that then set up a permission structure for so many corporations across the country to pull all of the money and all of the efforts with regard to their diversity efforts, which was crazy because they were under no obligation to do that. And notably, Costco did not do that. Stacy Brown, welcome. I will formally introduce you in a second. Just putting the audience up to speed here for a second. And so what happened, of course, is Donald Trump signs the executive order in January 2025. And right after that, you had a host of people calling for boycotts against Target, specifically one of the bigger companies involved. That included Pastor Jamal Bryant's effort, Nina Turner, and Nikema Armstrong in Minnesota, all rowing in the same direction, in my view. But we get into the details of, how exactly certain movements want to announce success, as it were. So, of course, this week, March 11, Jamal Bryant's group announced the end to the Target fast, and you can see on the screen that these were their demands, honoring the $2 billion pledge that Target had. I will put this link, by the way, in the chat. The depositing of $250 million in Black banks, the restoring of DEI commitments, the pipeline to community centers at HBCUs. Those were their demands. Whether or not they were met is a little bit unclear. Jamal Bryant, of course, did make a statement on March 11. But let me introduce right now Stacy Brown, who has done more reporting on this matter than any other journalist in the country. And I just want to hear from you about what the last 24 hours, which have been a little bit confusing, I think, have rolled out. But go ahead.
I'm serious. I think you said it. It's just been extremely confusing. The fact is now, it seems like there's growing speculation that money changed hands. And it's just that. I mean, we can't report that that's true because we don't know. But but when you do something like this, Lauren, when you, as you noted, end it so abruptly, and then the statements that have been made, it has you wondering what really happened, because it couldn't have been just, okay, we've been talking with Target. This is what Jamal Bryant said. We have been talking with them for some time. And it couldn't have been just that they told you what you want to hear, because that was the problem in the first place, right? That was
Yeah.
one of the problems anyway. And then you say, Jamal Bryant says that they were able to verify that Target is indeed meeting their pledge. And so at this point, they see no need to continue the fast. Um,
Yeah.
and what's more telling though, or just as telling, I'm sorry, Lauren, so you have Tamika and Nina Turner, Tamika Mallory and Nina Turner saying, "Well, I'm still not going to shop at Target."
Right. That happened sort of, there seemed to be a little bit of a rebranding in the afternoon and yesterday with regard to saying, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm still not shopping at Target." But I think even more importantly, the comment on the screen by She Loves Fancy, this sentiment that I didn't start my boycott with Brian and it's not over for me, I think is a very
Mhm.
popular one that I've seen online in terms of
Yep.
individual people who say, look, regardless of what leadership may have said or not, I am not going to continue to shop at Target. They
Right.
did not necessarily take their lead from any set of leaders one way or the other. And I'm going to play the clip on Instagram from Nikema Armstrong, and then I'm going to play what, in my view, is a blockbuster interview, frankly, by Nikema Niall Anderson yesterday on Let It Be Known. So this, to me, reflects a lot of that, but I'm still going to play those clips.
People continue to stand with grassroots leadership in the state of Minnesota, where Target is actually headquartered, and not cloud chasers, not fake pastors, not fake activists trying to co-opt our work. These people have received awards from the National Association of the NAACP and the Route 100 for our work. So they have no credibility. They don't speak for us. They didn't stand in the gaps for us when George Floyd was killed or when Operation Metro Surge happened. We stood for us and with the community. We speak for us. And we will never sell out our community for crumbs or a seat at Target's corrupt table. So we are asking people, continue to double down and hold Target accountable.
So obviously, she was not happy with the announcement on Wednesday. And I've sort of tried to go out in the background and figure out whether or not these people are actually talking to each other, whether or not Jamal Bryant is talking to Armstrong. The answer apparently was no, because some of the views that she's reflecting now publicly were reflected in person, in private, in text message, etc., and so on. So there was a divide there. I was completely unaware of that. And I do think that, I've said this in other settings before, and this is a perfect time to say it again. Anytime we as 14% of the population are fighting each other, we're not winning. We're not going to win fighting each other.
Right.
We're just not. I also happen to have the view that she expressed on Let It Be Known that Al Sharpton wanted to visit Minnesota. They told him not to. He did check in with them before flying into Minnesota. He decided not to do that. There was some more other pushback on Sharpton, and obviously pushback publicly, as we're seeing, on Nina Turner and Tamika Mallory and Jamal Bryant. My personal view on all of that is that you really don't get to dictate what anybody does. I don't, so if I was a activist, I don't get to tell Al Sharpton he can't fly into Minnesota and say, hey,
Right.
I think we should boycott Target. I mean, if he wants to do that, he can do that. And if I want to fly into New York for a meeting, I can do that. Now, we also do have to recognize that these companies do use Black people and use Black leadership as a shield. So Sharpton, of course, having a big profile, are going to use him as, oh, look, we're meeting with Al Sharpton, so everything must be buddy-buddy because we're taking a picture with him. We get the dynamics of that. Al Sharpton gets the dynamics of that. And so, I mean, the idea that these people don't know what the game is, they do. But this is an interesting fight. Go ahead.
Well, Mike V says she's cutting deep with the fake pastors remark. Wow, and it's
Right.
true. That you could tell the anger when you say things like that. Now, I will say this: about 2 years ago, I was I had to cover something with the NAN convention, and Sharpton himself had called out fake pastors. He used that remark, fake pastors, as well. So I thought that's interesting that, an interesting choice of words there. Obviously it appears obvious that she's talking about Jamal Bryant here.
Right. She is.
And yeah, and so we know too, at least in previous interviews with her, and like I said, she was with Niel on Black Press Live yesterday, but um she in previous interviews that I've been involved with her, she has let it be known that her and Jamal Bryant did not see eye to eye, and she feels like he, tried to hijack the movement, the boycott.
Well,
So she's not happy.
I can't speak for Jamal Bryant, although if he's out there listening, of course he's invited to have his side of this story told anytime he wants. But um, there's obviously a difference in platform in terms of, obviously, Pastor Jamal Bryant and I would say Nina Turner and Tamika Mallory have a bigger platform than the activists in Minnesota. And
Mhm.
that to me is not their fault. I mean, it's like they don't
Right.
necessarily have to apologize for having a bigger platform. But I do think that it probably would have been a good idea, if possible, for the two entities to have just communicated to each other, look, we are going to announce this thing on Wednesday. I get the sense that Miss Armstrong did not know that until Wednesday. And now, I can only speak for myself in saying that as somebody who considers themselves a little bit of an insider with regard to being in the same signal chains and et cetera and so on with some of these individuals, and text chains with some of these individuals. It's like I feel like I know more than the average person, and I didn't
Mhm.
know anything about Wednesday. So it does feel sudden. It feels like,
Yeah.
where did that come from? We're
Right.
talking about this thing being the length of the Montgomery bus boycott, and now all of a sudden it gets ended. A big piece of it, even though Jamal
Yeah.
Bryant may not have the entire piece, certainly his efforts were quite, I think, well organized. The website, the communications, the flyers, the whole bit. And I
Mhm.
don't know if he should have to apologize for that, for
Right.
effectively, again, rowing in the same direction as the folks in Minnesota. The folks in Minnesota, can say whatever they want. They have every right to say whatever they want. They have every right to just, express discomfort or whatever. I mean, they have every right to speak just like anybody else. But I
Right.
just feel like, it would have been more. I don't know that this sort of public bickering fixes anything and solves
Mhm.
anything. That's my basic sort of observation on that.
Yeah.
But um, I'll run a clip here of
Mhm.
Niall's interview. I mean, it was just like unbelievable when you have somebody who is speaking as candidly as this. You do have this sort of amazing thing. Niall is really spending most of the interview, as I would have, sitting back and listening, because there was nothing really to say. I mean, you know, there was
Yeah.
nothing really to say other than, hey, keep on talking. Like, that was quite blockbuster yesterday. Interestingly enough, it is hard to find this morning, so I'm thinking something was moved, which is another
Mm.
reason to show it. I just think that
There's
this
another
is,
reason to show it, Lauren
yeah,
says.
another reason to broadcast the interview. I just think that this was the type of interview that certainly, if I'm, obviously the idea, you see too in this that there's the predictable allegations of, oh my God, black women are being co-opted by men and this and that. But you have to remember, Nina Turner and Tamika Mallory are female, and ain't nobody that's
Right.
going to get me to believe that Nina Turner and Tamika Mallory get up every morning and say to themselves, "Hey, let me co-opt the voices of women." I mean, they're not doing that. So that was a harsh allegation, I thought. But of course, it's directed mostly at Jamal Bryant.
And I guess standing in our community to just randomly call a boycott, it didn't work. But since that time, what did we have? The Route 100 gave them an award as three of the Route 100, right? Off of the Target boycott. You had them showing up, at least Tamika Mallory at the Congressional Black Caucus. Because remember, the Congressional Black Caucus picked this up as an issue that they campaigned on, not knowing it started in Minneapolis. Then, from my understanding, I heard that they received an NAACP Image Award as well. At least Jamal Bryant did. As a result, he did. He got an NAACP award off of the Target boycott that he did not start. So think about that. That is a lot of social capital, cultural capital, awards. And I would say the most dangerous thing that happened during that time is him being allowed at the negotiating table on behalf of Black America. It is very dangerous to have someone who lacks integrity, willing to lie as a pastor out in the open, willing to co-opt a movement he did not start and manipulate the truth at the negotiating table for Black America. And think about the outcome of that. You're at the negotiating table. You don't get any of what we're really asking for. So what do? Call a press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., selling out our community and claiming the boycott is over.
Whoosh. What do you say, Stacy?
Right. Did she hold back?
Yeah, that was
Oh
one of
my.
many clips that is quite blockbuster. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's that?
she's always been that passionate though. And look, I agree with you on the point that fighting with each other is never going to get us, you know, it's not going to help with making advances. I think it would have been great, and maybe it's too late, maybe it's not, but for her and Jamal Bryant to sit down and have a conversation. But this is wow, Lauren. She was really going hard.
Yeah. Yeah, she particularly is aiming at him, which I suspect the reason for that is gender, because quite frankly, you're not going to win an argument saying that this is, we're silencing the voices of Black
Right.
women, and then you, you got two Black women
Right.
standing there. But I do think it's ironic that the interview apparently has been moved or something over at the original location at Black Press USA. I'm unclear about that because it did play on my phone. I hear it has
Mhm.
not been taken down completely. It has been moved. Well, why was it moved? And I did notice there
Yeah.
was some clips on social media yesterday that mysteriously disappeared. So, I
Yeah.
mean, this is not about, and I understand it. And I've had this happen in my life many times. I'm friends
Mhm.
with people who are in leadership positions, who are members of Congress, and it is hard to be in the position where you're reporting on people who have made a mistake or are involved in a
Mhm.
controversy. I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, this is about information going out and not being suppressed. Okay. So if in fact
Yeah.
there was suppression going on, it should
Or
not be.
censor.
Okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. And the one thing, and again, folks may take it how they want to take it. It's not meant to be criticism, but the one thing that I've learned in working 13 years with Dr. Chavis, the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association Black Press, is that he is very, very um, hard pressed to
Hmm.
see to air or have printed any criticism of anybody black. And now you're talking about the criticism of a black pastor. That is not something that Ben Chavis has ever agreed with. I remember, and I'm sure he doesn't mind me. He wouldn't mind me telling this story. I went to a Al Green concert, and Al Green, I love Al Green, but this was about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was at Radio City Music Hall in New York, and it was the worst, probably the worst performance of Al Green's career. I can't imagine he had performed any worse than what he did.
Right. Right.
And I wrote a review, and I wrote that he either should do another show for the fans in New York or give their
Hmm.
money back. Dr. Chavis hit the roof. He's a black icon.
Right.
He's a black icon.
Right.
So I know that Dr. Chavis also is very close with the Reverend Mark Thompson, who um, has a lot of influence on Dr. Chavis when it comes to what's published in Black press and what's released on Black press's social media and forums. And I would only imagine that, and Mark's been a part of that Target fast, I would only imagine that he would have objected, and Dr. Che was probably, he got Dr. Che's ear, and I'm not saying this happened because I have no information to say that this happened, but Dr. Che was probably told them, no, we can't have this. We're gonna have to either move it or take it down altogether, and it's happened before. So that's could very well been what happened, because I know that certainly Greer, who produces the morning show, I know that she doesn't work out of fear. She doesn't, if there's news to be reported, she's going to report it. She's going to have it reported.
Well, this was one where this thing writes itself. I mean, you didn't even have to. I mean,
Right.
Nikema Armstrong is someone who is got status in the community. She's a former chair of the NAACP in Minnesota. I mean, there's not just somebody off the street that, hey, I'm just saying stuff because I like to throw stuff out there. Pastor Jamal Bryant, of course, is a person, an individual of high status in the Black community, and deserves the respect, I think, of many of us, and deserves the respect of being able to respond to criticism. And also, nothing I've ever seen him do would say to me that his effort is in any way, questionable. I mean, again, I think the boycott idea long overdue. Not just with Target, just boycotts in general in the Black community. I think we should be boycotting somebody every week. And a lot of people out there,
Yeah.
a lot of people out there have been scared to boycott. And so Pastor Bryant should get a lot of credit, and so should Miss Armstrong, for just getting out there and risking, because when you go up against corporate influence, you're going to get some pushback, and it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
This issue of being afraid to have disagreement, the issue of being
Yeah.
afraid to have a public disagreement in the Black community. And I know it's messy, and I just said that, wow, it doesn't really advantage us when we do it. There's a way to do it, and then there's a way not to do it.
Have
But
Jamal on too. Have him come on and
exactly
respond.
right. And I'm sure at some point Jamal will address this, and publicly. And so that will happen in whatever form he decides to do it in. And that's fine. But this idea of being scared to have a disagreement, or we're going to pretend it didn't happen and hide it and all this, I'm just totally against that, because the reason that things do not get fixed is hiding the disagreement. All right. And you're not going to hide it in the world of social media and digital, by the way. You're
Yeah.
not. Somehow
No, you're
somebody's
not.
going to post it. It's going to get out there. And tonight on Roland Martin at 6:00, Miss Armstrong
Nikema.
is going to be on again. I have a funny feeling that she's not going to change what she's been saying. I just have a funny feeling. So, why are we pretending that this is not going to be discussed?
Yeah.
So that for me is all a no-go. Taking stuff down and moving it and all that is, and this is also going to the question, I know this is getting deep, of having people involved in journalism who are not journalists, who are effectively corporate leaders or have spent their lives in corporate, and I have the advantage of have spent my life in corporate America, private industry, and in the media, and in politics. And I know what all those things look like. And these are very corporate reactions that I'm seeing by people who are saying that they are running news organizations. And I think people need to think about that a little bit. You're not going to hide this information. That is not going to happen. And so again, that is just it is going to blow up, whether it blows up here or Roland Martin or someplace else, it's going to blow
Yeah.
up.
And this is it. It raises other questions, like, first and foremost, we live in a time where the ad part of journalism is now into the editorial, right?
Right.
One affects the other, and that's unfortunate, because I remember when I worked for the Los Angeles Times years ago in the 1990s, and the Staples Center was being discussed and built,
Right.
and they had taken out a partnership, an advertising agreement with the Times, and I remember management trying to dictate to some of those veteran reporters that we can't do this, we can't do that, and they were like, no, that's not going to happen. They stood their ground. Now, having said that, in this case, I don't see where this affects the bottom line, as far as you're being afraid to run something, because this is about the boycott, right? And this is about this, the what like you said, it's not going to be hidden. This censorship is it shouldn't happen. It's out of control. I've experienced it for sure. Um,
Well, it's like it's
I
fear that
I just
some. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I just know that you can't actively work effectively as a journalist if you got to uh be censored from criticism, that you can't criticize people just because they look like you. That makes us just as bad as other folks.
Yeah.
I
I
wrote a
mean,
story last year about black billionaires that and again, I mentioned Mark Thompson. I know he was up in arms about it, and they removed the story. Dr. Chavis had the story removed. um the story was 100% factual. It was, efforts to reach certain people were successful, and the answers that they gave were ridiculous, and then efforts to reach others was unsuccessful. And that's what you do as a journalist. You give people a chance to respond. And I know Mark Thompson didn't like that. And again, people, oh, jump. I'm not jumping on Mark Thompson. I'm stating fact. Mark
mhm.
cannot deny this, right? Because he called me with it. He didn't go behind my back and say, hey, take that story down that Stacy did. He came to me. And then he brought Dr. Chavis in, and Dr. Chavis determined that he was going to respect Mark Thompson's wishes on that. And I thought, hey, what are we doing here? Why are
Yeah.
we doing? You got to have that freedom. And I think that if this was taken down off of Black Press and Black Press Live, it does that show, and it does the Black Press a disservice, because Jamal Bryant is more than capable of responding. And I'm pretty sure if you talk to Jamal Bryant, he probably himself wouldn't want you to censor it. He'd probably say, "Let me respond."
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, if Mark Thompson's out there listening, Mark, you're invited obviously on at any time. Mark has had me on his show at
Mhm.
WPFW several times, and he can come on and say whatever the heck he wants, anytime, any place. He was on the Signal Live last night as the host. Uh, what this really is, though, bigger than any of the individuals involved, is it is people who are in journalism who are not journalists, because we are the only profession that I know of that people can wake up in the morning and say they're journalistic and have a podcast and a show and whatever the heck they want and have no rules attached to it, including the rules around full disclosure, basic ethical announcements that
Yes.
so and so is your friend, and therefore I'm not going to be speaking as a journalist. I'm going to be speaking as a friend. Corporate involvement, which is why I keep saying that in the Black community, we have to figure out the corporate piece, the money piece, because when we don't figure out the money piece, we got corporate control, and we get corporate control. It stifles our ability to talk about things that we need to talk about. Okay. And so it's bigger than Mark or Pastor Brian. In fact, it's not even about them at all. It's about the fact that
Right.
anyone at any moment can announce, I'm a journalist, I'm involved in journalistic shit, and here I am talking about it. And now I don't want anybody talking about my friends bad. I mean, I've done the same thing. I got friends that are members of Congress, and if you said something negative about them, I'm going to jump in and probably try to stop you, and probably announce, unless it's not that obvious, that I'm a friend of that person. And this is why I think this shouldn't be said. So
Right.
I'm not immune to what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when you're a doctor, you have to have a license. You have to have a certain education. When you're a lawyer, you have to
Yep.
take the bar. You have to pass the bar. You have to have a certain education. When you're a journalist, you just wake up in the morning and say you're a journalist, have a platform, have a podcast, do whatever you want. And then when your friends get jacked up, you want to pull this idea of, oh, wait a minute, we're not journalistic anymore. That is one of the biggest problems in our profession right now.
There you go. There you go. I can't disagree with one of your viewers, Lauren. She loves fan TC. She says, I think accepting an award on behalf of a movement you didn't start without giving recognition to them is unethical. I don't totally disagree with that. The only thing well, not the only thing, but one thing I'll say about this, and with Jamal accepting that, particularly the NAACP Image Award. Um, if they call and say, we're going to award you this, I mean, it's hard to turn that down, number one. But having said that, the NAACP when you think about Jamal and you think about Nikema, who's more well known. I mean, Jamal far more well known, and NAACP. This is why another reason I don't put too much stock in anybody's awards, because it's a popularity contest. If
Right.
you are making big headlines, if you have a big name, the NAACP wants to honor you somehow.
Right. That's right.
And so that the award in that sense doesn't necessarily carry the weight you would want it to carry, because they've done that themselves. They've diminished that themselves. And I think that Nikema, if anybody deserved the award for that movement, if it's deserved at all, it's Nikema Levy Armstrong. But that's again, that's not even big picture stuff.
Well, you know what? I'm kind of torn on some of that. I do think that this idea that your platform is lesser than, even though you started it. Let's just say, by the way, that's in dispute because Nina Turner apparently announced something right before the folks in Minneapolis did. But
Mhm.
let's say it's not in dispute. Let's say Miss Armstrong was the first one to announce the boycott, was the leader in Minnesota. She is the leader in Minnesota. That's not a disputed fact. But my thing is this: it is not to be denied that these folks, Pastor Bryant, Tamika Mallory, and Nina Turner, have a bigger platform. It is not to be
Mhm.
denied that they were rowing in the same direction as the folks in Minnesota. There was no big difference between the Target fast and Target's boycott. I mean, other than the names and some branding, there wasn't a big difference. Everyone was rowing in the same direction. Nina Turner and Tamika Mallory and Pastor Bryant should not have to apologize for having bigger platforms
Right.
than people in Minnesota. I'm sorry, but they shouldn't have to apologize for that. Okay. Now, yes, from a professional courtesy standpoint, I know Sharpton does this all the time. Should they have checked in with the Minnesota folks? Yes, I think they did actually. There was discussion between them and the Minnesota folks. But I don't know that it's a particularly good idea to get out here and say really insulting personal shit about other people, whether they be Pastor Jamal Bryant or anybody else. You can see that Pastor Bryant is trying to build a bigger profile online. You can
Mhm.
see he's trying to be kind of like the sort of activist reverend model, maybe a sort of a Jesse Senior type of thing.
Mhm.
Why is that bad? Why is that?
Right.
Why am I going to get mad that that's what he's trying to do? You know what I mean? Like I don't I don't see that as, oh my God, he's trying to build a profile. Like, that's not
Yeah.
problematic. It's only problematic if he does something that hurts the community, which I have not seen.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah,
um,
and the thing about it, like you said, he can't apologize for having a bigger platform he can't apologize for being more well known. Arguing as Candace 2117 over who started it does become a bit silly, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But the thing about it is, um, I think
yeah, yeah,
there's criticism to be had on both sides. Nikema is upset, and I get it, because sometimes I get upset and I just
right.
let it rip, right?
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
but the thing about it is, her focus has to be on what she's doing, right? It has to be on what she's doing, and she shouldn't want to, and neither should Jamal Bryant or Tamika Mallory or any of them want to have a situation where you're starting to turn some black folks against those black folks. You know, it has to be some sort of acknowledgement and understanding that, look, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Brian is concerned, my part of this is over. But I'm not in any way suggesting that you don't follow, if that's what you want to do, that's what you've been doing, follow what Nikema and company in Minneapolis are doing.
Yeah, and maybe Pastor Bryant comes out and says exactly that. There were some references to he's on Instagram saying giving her credit. He's on, and it's fairly recent. I think it was 2 weeks ago or something. He's on saying, yeah, she's the leader of the Target boycott. It's not like he was acting like, oh my God, I don't know who this person Armstrong is.
Right.
So I do think she lands real hard. I mean, as though
Mhm.
I get being pissed
Mhm.
off too. I mean, hey, I'm an Aries. I get pissed off, but I am a little bit to me, that energy that goes into that has got to go into these white supremacists that we're fighting. I mean, we've seen
Oh
this.
yeah, and that's yeah.
It just
Yeah,
feels like we have a bigger enemy out there that is more powerful than any of us, any of our organizations, and us. This is why us fighting each other is problematic, because it's like you've got the federal government now deciding to be anti-black and infusing that into policy. Okay,
yeah,
so when you
yeah.
see that type of thing, it is, to me, you've got, it's like when you watch an alien movie and you see the aliens show up and then everybody unites, black and white, and everybody, like the Independence Day, everybody just unites, all the countries around the world. Like, that's what we have to sort of have, I think, a feeling of. And let me know when you have to bounce. I know that you
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
9 o'clock. So.
we have
But
about 10 minutes, but let me say
yeah.
this, because somebody,
Mhm,
again, one of the viewers, she loves fan
mhm.
T says he's talking about Jamal Bryant. He's held to a higher standard because he's a representative of the Christian community. The one thing I've found out is that these pastors, these reverends, and that includes so many of them. They, for some reason, you may hold them to a higher standard, but they don't. They don't hold themselves to a higher standard on a lot of things. So it's a tough one there. I don't disagree if you're supposed to be representing a faith, then you should. I think you should be held to. You should hold yourself more accountable.
Which
But
comment are
I
you
don't
talking
think that.
about?
Um, she loves Fan T C says he's
Okay.
he's held. You see that
Oh,
that
he's
that
held to a
comment?
higher standard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to put on screen. Yeah.
I just don't think, in talking to all of them, talking to Jesse Jackson Sr., talking to Al Sharpton, and talking to Mark Thompson, and talking to Jamal Bryant and the rest. I get the feeling, and I could be wrong, but I get the
Mhm,
feeling in all of my discussions with these people and others that
mhm.
we might hold them to a higher standard, but I don't think that they feel like they should be held to a higher
Yeah.
standard than the next person.
Yeah, I think that Jamal Bryant, I think everybody should be held to the same general standard, frankly. I just don't think that just because he has a big profile, we're going to sit here and say, well, I think if you turn this around and Jamal said that about Nikema, what would we be happening right now? I'm not saying he's positioned to do that given what the facts of
Mhm,
the
mhm.
story are, but let's say he flipped the thing and say Jamal went off and said she's a
Ooh,
fake leader in Minnesota, and
ooh.
how dare she say stuff, like, you know what I mean? We would flip out on that because first of all, the gender politics of it, we'd flip out on it. Oh, a man is attacking a woman, and all that would happen. And I don't think it's right just because a woman is doing it to a guy. I mean, again, I have not seen Jamal Bryant do anything that has made me say, wow, he's here to hurt the community. Like, I've never felt that. So I just feel like maybe I missed it, but I thought that was a bit harsh. I'll just say that.
Maybe. Yeah. Listen, the
She
criticism.
gets, she gets to say it. I'm not saying she gets to say
Yeah,
whatever the
she
heck
she
she
has every
wants
right to
from her
say it.
perspective. I'm not
Mhm.
saying she can't say, she can say whatever she wants. She's a grown ass adult. There it is, right? And boy,
Yeah.
does it make great TV. But I'm saying I wish these people had spoken to each other and just called each other on the
Yes.
phone,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And again, I I I don't know Jamal Bryant well. I don't know him personally. Like I said, I've spoken to him a few times, interviewed him a few times, but I don't expect that he would shoot back in the same manner.
No way. No way. Yeah, no
I
way.
don't expect that
So
he would.
sorry, I'm looking at my phone because I'm I have my phone running because I'm sending this link to somebody. Yeah, so you no way. No way would Jamal do. I can't imagine him doing that, you know.
Yeah.
Uh
Um, but but the real question that so many people have this question. Lauren, is the boycott still going on? Are black people still boycotting Target?
it's definitely still going on. It's definitely still going on, from the perspective certainly of the Minnesota folks and the perspective of the general public who has
Yeah.
been chiming in and saying, "Hey, I'm done with Target. Y'all can announce what y'all announcing, but my own." So that to me is a lot more
Yeah.
relevant, and we're seeing it in the comments. in terms of these
And
commenters are reflecting what we're seeing.
exactly, and it's a great story for one of the best journalists out there, Sam P.K. Collins in the Washington Informer. You can check it out today. He has a story online now about this, about there's a faction in D.C.,
Oh, does he
a
really? That's great.
clergy-led
Right.
faction in D.C. that says, "Hey, we still boycotting," and they are demonstrating that, and have been demonstrating that apparently for since this all began, last year. So,
Yeah. Wow.
check
Wow.
that out. And in addition to that, BET on their website have a story too about the fact that there are people that saying, no, this is not over.
I'm gonna put the Informer story that you just referred to, Sam PK Collins, in the chat. Stacy, if you bounce, that's fine. I'm still gonna
Yep.
remain on for a few minutes to read comments. And you're right. I mean, that Sam PK Collins story is exactly what I've been reading in all the comments on all the platforms about
Hmm.
this story.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now you got CBS and BET reporting, hey, the boycott leaders. Did you see that? CBS and
Yeah.
BET were like, go ahead, talk.
No, go ahead. No, finish your thought.
No, just say it because I'm gonna go find it. It was like if you search
Oh,
this,
okay.
there's like a whole thing of stories on, hey, the boycott isn't over. So the CBS story on the top there, Minnesota actor, you know what I mean? Like, so she has broken through. Miss Armstrong has broken through,
Yeah.
and her folks out in Minnesota have broken through.
Yeah, which is good for them. They've been, working at this as hard as anybody. I think that they deserve some attention. They deserve the attention that people gave to the others. But to your point again, it's not Jamal Bryant or Tamika Mallory's fault that they have a bigger platform.
Yeah.
So
And not their fault that they want to help out with a boycott. I mean, I just don't feel like, I mean, what would we rather have? Them not helping out? I'd rather them
right,
helping out. My view
right,
of it would be, even if I had a lower profile, which I do, I would be like, if I was running that boycott and I had those two heavyweights show up, I'd be like, oh, good, they're showing up. But see,
they're showing up. Yeah,
if you want credit and you want the awards and you want the recognition, then I think you got to say that to somebody in private. You got to say, look, you
yeah,
guys
yeah,
nominated for a whatever, NAACP Image Awards, and I'm the one that started this. Shouldn't I be on that stage with you? I would hit them with that in private. I mean,
yeah.
let's be real. Let's talk real talk. So, hey,
Mm. Yeah, it is. Lauren, it's always a pleasure to jump on more live. This is that type of program that we need. We've always needed, and you've been providing this. Like, hey, no holds barred, let it go, and let's talk facts here. And I appreciate you.
yeah, no problem. I'll talk with you soon. I'm gonna keep going a little bit here to read some of the comments and round it out in 12 minutes at 1 hour. And I'll talk to you. We'll be talking soon again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. All right, everybody. That was Stacy Brown, who was reported on the Target boycott more than any other reporter in the country. For Black Press USA, if you search his name, Stacy Brown, and for the Informer, the Washington Informer, owned by Denise Roloff Barnes, the storied newspaper, the Washington Informer, those two have been covering the Target boycott for over a year, for at least a year. So Stacy Brown stories can be found all over the place on the Target boycott. Once again, the update this week was that some of the leaders participating in that effort, calling it the Target Fast, led by Pastor Jamal Bryant, announced on March 11 that they were ending the Target Fast. That was a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people, quite frankly, some of whom were involved, not involved, or just keen observers. And it turns out that the activist in Minnesota, the activist on the Target boycott out of Minnesota, who are saying that they started this effort, led by Nikema Armstrong, announced that no, this boycott is not over. And Pastor Bryant doesn't get to decide that, and we are going to continue this effort. So there's been a little bit of I would say, an impasse with regards to the leaders of the boycott, but really both of those groups, both of those factions were, in fact, in my view, rowing in the same direction with regard to economic power in the Black community and using economic power in the Black community, which is something that's long been discussed and long been talked about. And whether that energy was coming out of Atlanta or Minnesota, it was the same energy, and it was a damn good idea. So to go to the chat here, I want to thank everybody for commenting in the last 10 minutes here talking about this. There will be more news on this tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Roland Martin will be interviewing Nikema Armstrong, and that should be a lively time for all. But I will say the interview by Niall Anderson at Black Press USA was blockbuster yesterday. Absolute blockbuster interview. It's become a little bit harder to find, by the way. If I find a link, I certainly will put it in the chat. I ran a clip of that interview. It is a very hot interview, and Niall Anderson effectively, she asked a few questions, set up a few things, and just let it roll. And it was a very, very newsworthy and interesting interview. But I do want to give fair opportunity and chance to everybody else involved in this story who may have been criticized, and that, of course, includes Tamika Mallory, the great leader of Until Freedom out of New York, my home location, and, of course, Nina Turner, who should be a member of Congress, progressive in this country, and of course was blocked by the establishment wing of the Democratic Party when she ran for Congress, and of course Pastor Jamal Bryant, who is out of Atlanta, currently the famous pastor who I think certainly has the concerns of the Black community in mind when he takes action. To get to the comments, Candace, historic question: Did the Black leadership immediately bounce back after the Montgomery boycott? I'm guessing the answer is no. So will be incumbent to take next steps. That's probably true. I would not know if I wasn't alive, of course, during the Montgomery bus boycott. That's something I would have to study what happened after that. Of course, that boycott lasted a very long time, and everybody had to really stick together. But, I don't think in any time during the civil rights movement have all of our civil rights leaders always been on the same page. I mean, there've always been disagreements, whether it was the Black Panthers versus Martin Luther King. Hey, we don't believe in nonviolence. We believe in holding a shotgun in front of a courthouse. They had a different view of leadership. Certainly Malcolm X had a different view of leadership than Martin Luther King. SCLC had a different view of leadership. Student nonviolent, the Student Nonviolent Committee, and I'm sorry, John Lewis had a different view of leadership slightly than Martin Luther King. John Lewis was asked to edit his speech before the March on Washington. There's always been disagreements. The difference is now we live in a digital age, and when those disagreements happen, everybody knows about them because they land on social media, and thousands of people see them. So it's very hard to conceal a lot of disagreements that happen now. She loves fantasy. She loves fancy. I think that's what that is. Thanks for commenting today. We appreciate your comments. They are reflective of a lot of what we've seen online widely. There's a lot of people out there who have expressed that they were done with Target and they weren't caring one way or the other about, leadership snafus and kerfluffles. They were not paying any attention and not really not paying attention to what leadership said. They in their own lives had decided not to shop at Target, and that's what it was. So we've heard that quite a lot. Let me see here. Oh, fantasy. Yeah. Oh, fantasy. I don't know why I couldn't figure that out. She loves fantasy. Yeah, now it's so obvious. So yeah, more tonight. Roland Martin will have Nikema Armstrong on. There will be more on this clearly. Maybe some of the things that she'll say on that will be clarifying. Hopefully Pastor Jamal Bryant will comment, although I can understand not commenting because this sort of internal argument does not go to the bigger picture and the more important issue of how Black people control their dollars, how we control our economics, and how we fight against white supremacy and the forces that are against us. So he might not comment. And that's certainly a reasonable communication strategy, not to put more attention and fuel on the fire. Certainly there will be some fuel that will be igniting tonight on Roland Martin Unfiltered at 6 o'clock. So you can bet that whatever that is, that's going to be a thing. I want to thank everybody for joining, particularly Stacy Brown. Like I said, he's written more on this than almost anybody. I think he's written on, I shouldn't say almost anybody. He has written more on this than anybody. The Target boycott. This was a story, for example, in the Washington Informer written by Stacy Brown last year on the Target boycott. Let me just copy and paste the headline. This was back in April of 2025. Just give you an idea of how long this has all been going on. This conversation's been going on for a while. It's been going on for a while, and it looks like it's going to go on for a little bit longer because the activists in Minnesota are saying that they're continuing the boycott, and there's no reason to believe that they're not continuing the boycott. And then there's a lot of people who just individually have decided that they will continue to punish Target economically. I'm going to end with somebody who's, of course, been mentioned throughout this episode, but his voice has not been heard. So I think it's only fair to play a little bit of Pastor Jamal Bryant. This is from the press conference on March 11, this week, Wednesday, March 11, 2026.
We stand. We ask that there would be a reimagination of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That while it is that this administration seems to be allergic to every person having a seat at the table, we wanted to know, where does Target stand? Secondarily, while it is that Target has found itself prominently placed on predominantly white institutions, there was no presence with HBCUs. And so we wanted to know, where are you with that? Senator Turner enunciated what it is that the former CEO, Brian Cornell, articulated after the murder of George Floyd, a commitment to $2 billion being invested into the community. We wanted to know, where were they in honoring that? And lastly, with all of the money that the Black community invest into Target, would they be open to expanding the capacity for access to capital by investing in Black banks? For the moments that are entrusted to me left, I want to go over the 4 things that Target has completed and what left remains incompleted because we have not been able to bring you up to speed. Let me thank the new incoming President and CEO, Michael Fidelki, who just started the first day of Black History Month. And so he has proven that he wants to make history in Black history, not just remember it. I want to thank Senior Vice President Isaac Rios, who has met with us consistently through this process. And I want to thank our ally, Ray Robinson, who has been very instrumental in helping all of the parties get to the table. First is the $2 billion commitment. Those of you who grew up like I did in the 80s, and you remember the Wiz, Stephanie Mills said, "Don't nobody bring me no bad news." So let me say to you that Target, in their commitment for $2 billion, has completed 97% of it. And the remaining balance should be complete by Easter. They've partnered with Black-owned brands, Black-owned media, Black-owned suppliers who bring a culture, creativity, and innovation into spaces where our presence has long been overlooked and, quite frankly, underestimated and ignored. Target understands the past, yet understanding the past is not sufficient. The present and the future is where it is that we are. The revolutionaries who are amongst us would echo the sentiment, forward ever and backward never. And so it's not so much about what has happened in the past, but what it is that we can accomplish in the future. Leader Mallory spoke to what CEO Michael said to the 400,000 employees in terms of us not being treated with the highest level of respect. And the question that has been asked of us over the last year, of 35 Fortune 500 companies who have walked away from DEI, why did we pick Target first? And the answer to that resoundingly is Target is the only one we invited to the cookout. They were the only ones we felt were kissing cousins. They are the only Fortune 500 company that got a hood nickname. We called them Target because we had let them into the house. And so it was not just a abandonment of DEI, but we felt as if it was a betrayal to it. Target exceeded not just the $2 billion by Easter, what they'll do at the 97% mark, but in our meeting with Leader Mallory and Bishop Daughtry, they shared they went above that with $100 million in grants.
So I just wanted to play some of that. I will put the link for that entire video if you want to watch the entire thing in the chat. This is the press conference on March 11 featuring Pastor Jamal Bryant announcing the end to the Target fast, as he calls it, Target boycott, as he saw it, the Target fast, but it was Target boycott. So this is the press conference from Wednesday. Pastor Bryant and others speaking. This is, of course, Wednesday, March 11. And that was what kind of set off into motion a bunch of questions about whether or not it should end. Is it over? Is it not over? This is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live, and I will be back soon. At some point, we'll probably talk about this again, and hopefully we'll be talking about the substance of what was gained from this moment, because that's really what the point of this is. Not internal bickering, but what was gained from this moment, from Target, and to the benefit of Black communities, many of which put millions and millions of dollars into the pockets of Target, to the bank account of Target. And of course, there's always disagreements in strategy. Those disagreements don't always necessarily blow up into the type of public view that they have in this situation, but in this situation, they sure have. This is Lauren Burke. This is Lauren Live. I will be back soon. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thanks for watching. And thank you for your comments. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the, because a lot, as I said, a lot of comments do reflect exactly what we're seeing online in other spaces. So at any rate, I'll be back soon, tomorrow at probably 9 a.m. again. And we'll see how it goes tonight at 6 o'clock on Roland Martin with regard to Nikema Williams. That should be a fascinating interview.
Somewhere. What's going on? Thank you. Are you watching now?
Yeah. No, I was watching on the left, but it's excellent. I love it. I love the traffic's blowing up. You were in Brooklyn last night. Where?
I was in Bushwick.
Okay, my grandmother's house is in Crown Heights.
Oh, yeah.
So when I saw you, I was trying to look at what the pizza place was to see where
As soon as we got there, someone recognized the pizza place. They're like, we got to get out of here. Someone had
get out. It was great.
blown up our spot.
This show is freaking fantastic.
Thank you.
Love it, man. Love it.